People often find it strange how tragedy and comedy are so intrinsically linked. One of the most effective ways of handling the awful is to laugh at it. We joke about the things that scare us. It's an angle from which we can approach things that feel too big to tackle. This is why comedians like George Carlin can say things that feel more genuine and true about the state of our society than even the most liked politicians.
That's us. Human beings, interesting folks, murderers.
This is what Wolfenstein II: The New Colossus is. It handles atrociously serious subjects with an absurd grin slapped across its face and a big fucking gun in its hands. Let's see why you should go back and kill more Nazis in Wolfenstein II: The New Colossus. The New Colossus was developed by Machine Games and was released in October of 2017. It takes place in an alternate universe where the Nazis won the Second World War and conquered much of the world. It directly follows the story of Wolfenstein: The New Order, and if that game felt like a crew of people trying to survive the onslaughts of a monolithic, undefeatable force, this game feels like a fuck you to that monolith and the beginning of a true uprising. For me, the main appeal of this game is not that it is a good shooter, which it is that it is completely batshit crazy, but somehow it manages to stop itself from spinning off into meaninglessness. The story follows BJ Blazkowicz and a group of rebels known as the Kreisel Circle as they attempt to undermine and take down the Nazi regime. In this group, BJ largely fills the role of the dude who gets shit done. He doesn't really plan, he just gets sent in a direction and mows his way through as many Nazis as necessary until the job is finished. But consistently, the things that you are doing and the scenarios you are put in are batshit insane. The game is not afraid to meddle with cult magic and futuristic science. It's hard to explain without spoiling it for you, but just know that I was consistently surprised, shocked and excited about the things that were occurring in front of me. I was never sure where it was going next, and it never disappointed. It is a roller coaster of utter ludicrousness, where you think that the last thing you saw could not possibly be topped, and then it is, over and over again. I finished this game over 4 months ago, and I still find myself thinking about those moments. Now, this level of bombast will keep you playing, but the truly impressive part is the way that the game utilises its tongue-in-cheek absurdity to explore some serious subject matter. Many of the reviews and articles about this game talk about the way that Wolfenstein manages to balance the absurd comedy with its tackling of serious subjects. I think there's a false assumption here. The idea that it's balancing anything is wrong. The ridiculousness of the game is the way it handles serious subjects. It couldn't do it without that. I mentioned that BJ is the dude who gets shit done in this game, but he's also the subject of much of the story. We get to see a lot of his history in this game. We see the childhood that created this Nazi killing machine. The feeling of powerlessness that BJ feels as a child wouldn't be so impactful or emotionally affecting if the game didn't contrast it with the force of nature that BJ becomes. At the start of this game, there is a constant sense that BJ's body is crumbling and betraying him, exploring the sensation of disability. This couldn't have been done in this kind of game without the mad science that's present in this universe. Tragedy and comedy are inextricably linked, and this game utilises that to its maximum. Not just with BJ either, the game uses the other characters and BJ's relationship with them to explore even more weighty themes. For example, BJ seems to think that getting rid of the Nazis would make everything perfect again. It takes the other characters to point out that America and the world was cruel to many types of people before the Nazis came along. It's funny, much like the narrative, these people are caricatures, larger than life in many ways, but each of them has a heart and a depth that you wouldn't expect. They are worth caring about, and by the end you really will. Ultimately, The New Colossus is about the downtrodden of society rebelling against a monolithic culture that doesn't just not care about them, but actively despises them. And that's not something unique to the Nazis. I said earlier that the main draw of The New Colossus was not that it is a good shooter, but that's not to say that the core gameplay is not great. I thoroughly enjoyed the murder of every Nazi in this game. It doesn't quite live up to its contemporaries like Doom, but is fun all the same. Its stealth system adds an interesting wrinkle where you can set yourself up for success by killing the commanders who call in reinforcements, before the combat even begins. However, combat feels the best when you are dual wielding two big ass guns and tearing through anything that gets in your way. That is why if you ever find yourself not enjoying the combat in this game, bump down the difficulty, because that sense of power is where this game really shines. Moreover, much like its predecessor, it has a nice perk tree that unlocks as you complete different challenges in combat, encouraging you to experiment with different weapons and tactics. That's a good thing too, because the weapons are phenomenal. They are meaty and sound fantastic. I mean, just listen to the growl that laser gun makes. It's like Hans Zimmer had a baby with a lawnmower. Along with the satisfying sound and use of the guns, there is their design, which is strange. It blends the modern with the old, making for this unique aesthetic. This aesthetic is consistent throughout all of the Nazi environments and technology. The use of hard lines, concrete and metal is not only thematic, but fucking cool to look at. The game also contrasts this with more natural and messy areas like New Orleans. Furthermore, it doesn't just put you in these places to kill things. It has the confidence to, on occasion, allow you to explore these areas and see how Nazis and American culture have combined. This is unsettling in many ways and massively done to create this alternate yet familiar and uncomfortable landscape. Then there's the cutscene presentation, which goes much further than just showing you what happens. It instead adopts the styling of pulp films with interesting framing and cuts that keep the action feeling dynamic. There have been many games about Nazis, but Wolfenstein II has a style all its own. Wolfenstein II: The New Colossus is catharsis on a grand scale. Its story is fantastically absurd, and it uses that absurdity to approach themes that games rarely have the balls to tackle. Its combat is big and satisfying, while its sense of style and world building is impeccable. If you haven't played Wolfenstein II: The New Colossus yet, you really should, or if you've played it, let me know what you thought in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for a new game recommendation every week.